I absolutely love this stage when it comes to lambretta rebuilds. I call it the Dremel and file stage when we try and assemble all these random parts onto a frame to turn it into a proper scooter. If that's something you fancy having a watch of, then grab a coffee. I'll see you after the intro. This is how I like to assemble a lambretta. I managed to, last night I had a bit of a mechanical marathon. As you can see, it's starting to look like a scooter. I received, really luckily, I received new links from Scooter Centre yesterday, the day before Easter, and managed to swap out those links. These are actually really nice. I have to say, quality compared to the Casa Lambretta GP links to the Evergreen links, miles apart. These are really nice, a lot nicer finish. The nickel on there is really nice as well, and they lined up absolutely perfectly. So I whipped out the Everlink ones and I fit the GP ones. That does make it a lot easier. I use the I also bought myself a new spring compressor from BGM. I really like that because the fork bit that compresses the spring itself is a little bit narrower, so you can compress the spring a little bit more. Eases the links in easier, and they're obviously GP rods with a loose ball on the end. They're a lot easier to assemble compared to the fixed ball on the LI type ones. So I've got that in there. The 10% stiffer springs. Someone asked me about these. I use these because they're a little bit stiffer than normal, but not too stiff. They're not harsh at all. And I really like, if you're on a bit of a budget and you don't mind going in a slightly different direction compared to the original type dampers, then I really like these skinny dampers from BGM. They work really well and work really well together with the 10% spring. So that's sorted. I fit the, because I showed that on the last video, when I fit the Spanish mudguard to my Series 1, I fit the bearing cups. I've got a new dust cover on here, which is nice and shiny, as you probably can see. One thing that I hear on the internet is reproduction chrome rings are really poor quality. This is the 4th or 5th one I fit. This is a Casa Lambretta item. I think they fit fine. What you have to do with these is just take a flappy wheel to the chrome that fits inside. They're a little bit tight, but otherwise I think the fit and finish is pretty good on those. I haven't adjusted the tension on the bearings yet. These are obviously normal bearings. I have loose bearings at the bottom, which I like to use. Sorry. And this is how I like to assemble it. I just take a little bit of a look-see. So the first thing ever, always, I fit on Lambretta is the stand, because it makes it so much easier to get to when you can lay the frame on its side. This is a Casa Lambretta reproduction stand. I find the fit and finish on these absolutely perfect. I quite like the Scootopia ones as well. I've used those a couple of times. They're pretty good. Scootopia parts, not as easy to get to as it used to be now that Brexit has come in force. But yeah, so I fit the stand, and then I like to fit the fork, and that means you have all this open space to do all the niggly work. I'm talking about niggle work. What I am faffing around with at the moment. Oh, before I go to the back, just have a look at that new BGM tubeless type. They used to make these in tube only, and I've been banging on about that for a couple of years now. I'd really love to see a nice classic tread that was tubeless, and this really fits the bill. I really want to use these on my scooters as well. So I think from now on, once my miters are worn out, I'm going to be using these here because I think they look absolutely smashing. These I bought mounted to rims. It might be hard to see on they're white. The rest of the frame is a light grey, so it's a bit off on the colour. But actually, in the flesh, it looks pretty cool. You get a nice little detail there with the rim. But yeah, so I didn't have to faff around fitting those. So that was just bolt on. I rebuilt the hub as well a couple of weeks ago, and that went slotted together nicely. I've used new nuts from lambretta, and I used the BGM original type front hub axle kit. So we know all this is aligned, and it is how it should be with the brand new lambretta fork. And even though I've got GP links on here, I have fit the grease nipples just for a bit of TV 175, bit of a TV 175 look on it. It looks a bit more original, I think. Although there's no point in the nipple, it's just exercise in fashion. It's all about fashion. The reason why I down tools is this rear light here that I painted is a reproduction item. And it's really crap. I just have to say straight away, really, really crap. Georgie was missing the mounting. They've got like a mounting plate on the back there. I'll do a little bit of wobbly cam afterwards, so that this sort of lines up properly. But the gasket that came with it, I had is it 3 gaskets I've got? I see on my original lights that this part here is slightly more prominent. So the rubber gasket did not fit whatsoever. So this is about as good as I could get it. And I kid you not, about 2 hours on this just to get it this poor. But luckily, he's going to be using a sprint rack. And as you can see, I'm really, really happy with the finish on the rear of the scooter here. It's not like perfect show quality, but I wanted to wait a couple of weeks, and I'm going to give this a polish, and I think it's going to actually look pretty good. As you know, there was like this big ridge that went here and here, and there was a bit of a dimple, but that is hopefully, as you can't see it now, there's a big dimple on the hole where the light fixing goes through the frame, so that's hidden. So it looks pretty good. I'm really pleased. I used a lot of time on that, and I'm pleased that it turned out. Shame I'm not a better painter, but all the paintwork, the side panels, rear footboards, the leg shield, headset top, I painted that 4 times, just couldn't get it right. The horncast and the front mudguard, because Georgie's front mudguard is absolutely shagged, I ended up using the front mudguard that I pulled off my Series 1, which is an original one, and it's in really, really good nick. So they didn't need to do much bodywork on that, but they did have to straighten the leg shield. That was curly. They had to do a lot of welding, so there's quite a lot of work there. But I got a photo of the guys at the paint booth. I'll throw them up here. And as you can see, this young lady is doing an excellent job with filling and spraying, and at the moment they got their 2nd coat of filler primer yesterday, and they say that they're going to be finished painted in a week's time. So I have really got my work cut out for me. Right, a little bit of wobbly cam. As you can see, I fucked up. I used like a filler primer and it reacted to the paint. Luckily it was on the inside here, so it doesn't matter. It's all going to be hidden. But as you can see, these bars here, they cost a penny, and they help you align the rear light because they're slanted on the back side. And as you can see here, I've got some wires. This is going to be my earth loom, which I like to fit on the back light bar there. And I made quite a long one. Whoop, because yeah, you'll see that when I fit the electrics on this thing. So the light is fit, but because it's a reproduction, the holes, let's have a look here. The holes I'm fitting BGM LED rear light. That way, it goes that way. And I had to elongate these holes a little bit with a little needle file because the reproduction light has his holes a little bit differently placed than on the original one, just so that I can fit it. And I got this bit rubby here, that's fine because I could slip it up a little bit. And I also had to chamfer off the corners here as well because it's a bit of an odd shape. But luckily, the reproduction glass that it came with at least fits the light. I think you'd be having a nightmare if you tried to find or buy a Casa item or something like that and try and fit that, because the holes are slightly higher than they are in the original. And this one is made by Elite. What do you reckon? Is that Indian or something like that? But anyway, I think it's going to look okay. So the plan of attack now is to fit this rear light and then move on with some of the rest of the stuff. What I did notice was I wanted to fit. Yesterday I used 2 hours trying to find. I bought a new choke because if you remember when I took this apart, there was some sort of start switch here. But now I'm going to fit the choke where it's supposed to be, and I bought a new choke. I've had that in my hands, but I can't find it. So I'm going to have to rush around, try and get as many parts done as possible. Look at that. It looks snazzy, doesn't it? It looks really nice, I think. I bought a new brake arm. All this, that's the thing, when you do like a restoration, these small bits here really count as to give a full impression of how well it's been built. What to do? Yeah, the rear light. I'm going to sort that out. And I painted this. Georgie didn't have air intake. I like to fit those. I haven't got them on any of mine, by the way, but I like to fit those on this type of a build. And it does not whatsoever fit the rubber. So I'm going to have to stretch that a little bit and mess around with that. Just a small detail, which is really annoying. Another cool detail I really want to show you. I think, I'm not sure if I've shown you on the other videos, but this is what I like to do. I like to, what's it called? The fuel lid, I like to keep original on the inside, just for a bit of originality. So if I take you underneath there, you can see it's still got the original paint and the original sticker on there. So that when you lift that up, it gives you a tiny little bit of nostalgia. Right, let me faff around with this light and I'll turn the camera off. Wobbly cam! I've just been talking to myself because there's something wrong with my camera and I'm not sure when I've turned it on or off. And I've had some microphone issues as well. It's after I was in the spray booth. I think I've buggered my camera. I have to save up for a new one. So what I want to show you is what I've done, the progress so far. I have fit the number plate holder, and this number plate holder is Casa Lambretta. I am also using the Casa Lambretta buffers. One thing to note if you're doing a Series 2 is there's two types. You've got the early one and the late one. The spacing on for the screw holes is different. In the past, I bought the wrong one. This time, I was lucky. I knew what I was looking for, so it was correct. Unfortunately, when I was going to fit that, it was touching that reproduction rear light. So I ended up having to loosen it, and then the rubber sort of vanished under that. So I was a bit faffing around, actually. And I fit the sprint rack, because that was while I was there. I fit the panel rubbers. They're also from Casa Lambretta. And I'm happy to say, apart from the fact that my tripod is stuck on some parts, happy to say that I managed to fit the air scoop, and because this is the later type, I have no idea where this came from. Well, I do. It came from my cupboard, but I don't know which scooter. But this is the type that hasn't got the base, so it was really easy actually just to pull out the gasket so I could tighten that down properly, and it looks okay. And I also found, while I was rooting around for other stuff, as you do, I found the choke lever, so I fit that as well. And at the moment, I'm messing around with the headset. I'm using Casa Lambretta plastic bushes. I really do like the MB brass bushes. But on my Series 2, they're starting to get a bit worn, and I think, actually, to tell you the truth, it's a lot easier to change and cheaper to change the plastic one. So I'm going to stick with those. Headset is on. I've lined it up, and another faff was obviously trying to tension and adjust the headset. Bit of a pain in the ass. It's like you tighten it, and it's really loose. You give it another millimeter, and it's like rock solid. And then when you go to tighten the lock ring, however hard you try not to move the lower ring on there, and you try and tighten the lock ring up, there is some movement in there. What I ended up doing on this one actually was I tightened it down. It was a little bit too tight, and I ended up like loosening the bottom one against the top one, which did the trick. And that's hunky-dory. Normally when I do these builds, when I get to this stage here, I normally start fitting the wiring loom, fitting the cables, stuff like that. I think it's fun. Before I fit the toolbox, I haven't got a toolbox rubber. I have to root around. I hope I've got to use one or something, or otherwise I might have to buy one. And I can't get the tank in without the... anyway, that's a problem for another hour. But what I decided to do here is I haven't actually touched the controls on here, the gear lever and the throttle. So I'm going to give that a proper clean up and fit that. And they're probably going to be quite sloppy. So I don't want to fit the wiring loom because that will entail a bit of welding. Normally I do it on the floor, but today I am going to do it on the scooter because I can. It's a bit easier to work with when everything's like stuck to something, if you get what I mean. So that is my next job, I think, the handlebar. And then once I've done the handlebar, I'm going to start threading cables and wires. Yeah, a bit at a time. But we're getting somewhere. It's starting to look like a scooter. Can you see in the camera my terrible pin? I missed a bit. In Norway, we call that a helidog, which is, what's that? It's a public holiday. That means you missed a bit. Yeah, so let's get cranking. Oh, one thing which is a bit upsetting is I didn't actually notice that. I was going to fit the lock, a new one from Casa Lambretta, in the headset, but the area in which the little, because what you do is when you lock it, there's a little piston that goes down and locks into the chrome ring on these, and some point in time it's either been stolen or they've lost the key or something. They've given it a bit of a tug, and they've broken the part where the tube goes in. So I will be fitting a lock, but it's not going to be usable. And to be honest, if I'm riding my scooters into town, I like to take a chain or something, because if you lock the headset, thieves, they think they can break the lock. That doesn't always work. I've seen headsets that get broken, and if you got Series 1 or something that's hard to get hold of headsets for, it's not fun, is it? It can be quite an expensive and pain in the arse repair. So, and another thing I bought as well, because that wasn't here, is the cutout switch. So cutout switch, lock, rods, bars. So I'm going to faff around with that. It entails putting my gloves on, because I haven't, as I said, I haven't touched them, so they're really dirty, and I need to give them a clean up and fit them. Bend over. So this is the gear changer, and it's looking a bit manky. I wonder, what's this groove from? There's a groove all the way around here. Not sure what that is, and someone's had a go with an angle grinder there as well. So what I'm going to do is clean up all that gunk out of there. I'm going to give this a little bit of a polish with some aluminium polish. Just rub it down once I've got it clean, and then test fit it, see how it goes. Because once, what I want to do is I want to fit the bar, tighten it up. I've got some shims on the inside where the wheels are. One of the wheels was broken, can't remember which one it was. Is it the gear wheel? Luckily I had one lying around, my last one, so I don't have to delay. I think actually if you look If you look on the inside there, some clever clogs has actually done that trick with welding. They've just done a very bad, it looks like pigeon poo. I just fancy doing something else, to be honest, and I decided I'm going to fit the little rubbers. Where the hell are they? The ones, those side panel buffers. I've got a bit of a technique there now, thanks to the guys who watch the channel. Let's see, can I fill those up? This is boiling hot water, by the way. It's the only proper way to get the grips on, to be honest. They might be made to spec, but even the best ones in the business, Casa and the Scootopia ones, are a little bit short. So you sort of have to stretch them onto the handlebar. I got this little arm. That's my paint, by the way. Probably the most unmeaningful thing on the whole project, and the paint job turned out pretty good. That's so annoying. Why wasn't the headset or something like important? Right, let's see if I can fish this up. Because what I found out after some tips from my viewers is these little buffers on Series 2s, if you fit them the wrong way around, it needs to go this way. What do I mean by wrong way round? This way. So if you slot those in that way, see if I can get that in. And just press it. It works perfectly, it does. And then while it's hot, get a fistful of rubber and just, come on. It's being difficult. There you go, not so difficult. And that is the rubbers on without having to mess around with screwdrivers and stuff like that. That's a brilliant tip. I can't remember who told me that. But yeah, thank you very much. And that's the same way that I'm going to fit the one onto the frame. So these Casa Lambretta grips, they get really like soft and pliable when you put them in hot water. Go on there. Once you've got it on, you can see there's a bit of a gap. I'll try and zoom in, and you just fucking. While it's still hot, get a fistful of grip and just pull it. And when they cool down, they sit pretty nicely there. Cool. If you're in the process of doing one of these, I just thought I'd run you through the wiring if you can't use Google. The back wire is earth. Now, the smartest thing to do is not what I did. The smartest thing to do, what I normally would do, really, is join the black wire so that it is got a terminal on. So if this relay light breaks, it's a bit easier to be able to take it out. But for tidiness, I just put a thingamabob on the end there, and I connected it together under the bolt there for the rear light on the bracket to the rear light. The other wires, pink goes to red, and is that a black? Pink goes to red, the other one goes to yellow. Pink one goes to the rear brake light. Yes, so I'll just do the concentrating bit thing, trying to get this mudguard in. Yes, so that is the reproduction mudguard in place. Unfortunately, it do a little bit too long. It's so annoying. I couldn't use the rubber buffer, which is supposed to do on the back of the mudguard there. So what I ended up doing is gluing rubber to the frame itself, thinner rubber that is, And the only way I could get that mudguard in place is by using what I did. I sort of chased it in with longer screws and wound them up so that I could position it in place. I had to use some pretty heavy duty washers on the back side there of the mudguard not to wreck it. There is, and it's pretty impossible to see, there's a slight bore in the middle of the mudguard there. It's really hard to see. You have to sort of feel it. And in the light, there it is. There's a little bit of a crease there. But that's the only way I could get that in, to be honest. And I'm not a good enough welder to... I knew this was going to be one of the bigger problems that I had. But I did it. It's all right. It's all right. It's not too bad. It'll be fine. The only thing that sort of surprises me with these reproduction mudguards is you really do have to keep an eye out when you put the engine in, especially if you're using offset bolts. It's the fact that there's no recess for the bump stop. So do pay attention to that when you fit your engine. This is just going to get standard engine bar. So I think I should be all right. And I have to just remind myself what I told you when I fit the engine. So that is the end of day 2. It's like when you put the fork on and the front wheel on, you think you're really cooking on gas, but there's like loads of little things you've got to do. Like what I could have done beforehand, it's really dirty this, what I could have done beforehand is, obviously, I polished this. I threw them. Can you see that little machine in the back of that little polishing machine? Bench polisher. So I polished these levers and stuff. So I used quite a bit of time on that. Have I had any niggles that have been a pain in the arse apart from the... Not really. I think it's going together quite well, to be honest. And what I will do is love you and leave you. And next time, what I'll do off camera is fit the wiring loom, because I've already done a video on that. And I have done a video on how you connect your cables, but I think I'm going to dedicate the next video that's coming out to how you fit the cables to the bare frame like I have here. I might do the wiring loom, fix that to the frame and throw in the engine and show you the routing for the cables and stuff. I think I'm going to do that. Anyway, I will love you and leave you. If you like this kind of stuff, don't forget, do the old thumbs up, and don't forget, subscribe to the channel. I've only got 100, something like I'm 100 off 9,000 subs. So if you're not subscribed, go and do that. And if you want to support the channel properly, you can also become a member. I do some member-only videos, tuning of shocks and stuff like that. If that intrigues you, go and have a look at that. It doesn't cost a lot of money, but it really supports the channel physically. Anyway, like I said, love you and leave you, and I'll see you all in the next one.